Hello, my miracles. How are you doing? I am fine. I decided to, I did a movie review. You'll see that soon in the same kind of wardrobe. And I wanted to get on here because I remembered someone commenting that I should do a, story time about my short career at Universal Studios. So here's the deal. While I was waiting to hear back from Disney, I had applied to Universal Studios for basically the same thing that I actually got the job for at Disney, which is a vacation planner, which is kind of like a very, very fancy way of saying ticket booth person. I don't know. Anyway, so I went, I actually received an email very, very quickly. I think it took like 2 days, 3 days, and then I received an email to come in for an interview. So I was pretty excited because I needed a job and I wanted to work at a theme park. So I was like, this is awesome. So anyway, so I scheduled the appointment, which was, I think, the following day or a couple days later. I went in. I was, of course, really nervous. You're always really nervous when you do like job interviews. It's just the fact of life. The thing that I have found personally with myself is that I find the majority of the time I am offered a job very quickly. I don't know whether I'm personable or I have the right answers, but so I'm in this interview. I waited for, I think, about an hour to actually be called in. And when you go into, I want to call like the human resources area, whatever, there's a sort of like a circle check-in desk. And then behind that, there are 3 or 4 rows of very comfortable chairs, and they have a movie playing. And so you just basically go in, sign in. They give you like a clipboard to sign your name, your availability, what you actually applied for, and then you keep that until you're called back. So I was waiting for maybe about an hour, and they just call out your name and you follow that person. So this lady called my name. I followed her in, and you walk in and there's a bunch of cubicles. And so hers was like, I think, the first one. So we sat down, and it was when I sat down, I felt very comfortable. And maybe that's one thing that a lot of employers like, is that you're not so frigid and nervous, which in the second interview at Disney, I was that way, which if you have not seen that, go and look at that one. But anyway, so I sat down and we had a conversation. She asked about difficult customers and my history, employment history, and all that stuff. So things were going really well. So she said, we would like to offer you a job. And then I was like, okay, that's great. She goes, well, unfortunately, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? She looked it up, and for some reason, that vacation planner position was only available for employees that actually were working at Universal at the time, and it was like sort of like an inner office kind of thing where they like to hire within. So I was very disappointed at that. And then she's like, but we do have some positions available for the new Volcano Bay that's opening up. Are you aware of that? Or, do you know anything about that? I said, well, the only thing that I know of is what I've seen in like on YouTube and trailers. And I said, I know it's a water park. And so she's like, well, we have we don't have any vacation planner positions, but we have a park greeter, which is basically you're like at a podium sort of, and people come in and you take their tickets and you make sure the tickets are valid and blah blah blah. So I was like, and she's like, well, it's such and such amount per hour. And I was like, okay, well, that's better than what I'm making now. She goes, would you be interested? I said, yes, definitely. I will, I'll take it. So she was very sweet, very nice. And so I was excited. I came in, I was offered a job, not the job that I wanted, but I was like, I'll make this work. I'm going to be working at a theme park. It's not Disney, but I was like already excited. It's going to be awesome. So when I came back home, a couple days went by, and then I received my schedule for training. And the first was like, what was it called? It was sort of like the Disney traditions. It was a whole day, 8 hours. The first class was, getting to know Universal Studios and what it represents and what it stands for, and, sort of like that. So Disney and them are pretty similar in that aspect of sharing with you what you're, going to be working with and all that kind of stuff. So I scheduled the time. I went in, I think it was like 8 o'clock, or it was early morning, and then we stayed. No, it wasn't early morning. I remember because it was like mid morning, and I didn't get out of there until like 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And they had different scheduled times, and I guess I was just slotted into that. Anyway, so we go in, and it's a massive room with long tables and chairs, and they just go through everything. They just say when Universal started, what they stand for. It went through each theme park, and then it showed like a little clippet of Volcano Bay, kind of like a mock-up trailer of what they envisioned it for. And so I was looking at this, and and let me just say this. I am not a water park person. The first time I went to a water park, I had massive second degree burns, sunburn. So that kind of, I did not want anything to do with it. But I thought, it's a job, it's at a theme park, and I'm not going to be like in the water. I'm going to be a park grader. So I was pretty excited about it. I mean, the mock-up, the trailer was absolutely fantastic. And so I was pretty excited. So then came the training. And the thing I want to, I guess, say is that if you're in a group, a massive group that is opening a theme park, whether it be a water park, a dry park, whatever, it's very hard to train someone when you're not on the grounds in it. And so we were sitting in these classes, and they were going over, scenarios and all that kind of stuff. And it was just sort of like being thrown to the wolves, sort of, because there was no way that you could go onto like the designated land that they were building, because there was still construction. It was very dangerous. So we had no idea how to, I guess, or I personally had no idea how to go into that arena. The training classes, there was one class that was very fun. It was like sort of like an improv, and it was very fun, and you were thrown into things, and I absolutely loved that class. It was very funny. The people that were teaching were hilarious, and they were getting us prepared for just having fun, and that's I don't know, I'm stumbling over my words. So then I had other classes that were just kind of very boring, and the teachers were, you know, like Bueller. I mean, it was, and they had this one guy that everything he said, he was like, okay, here we go. This is the water park. So after everything, he was like, and it was so irritating. That's all I could hear was, it was so irritating. So anyway, so then comes the part where we actually are able to go onto the property and experience whatever was there, basically. They still didn't have like the bus terminal. Things were like dirt. There was a lot of dirt. They were just putting in like the palm trees and the plants and all that stuff. So what happened was, you get this email and you say, okay, well, you're going to be a guest, quote unquote guest, and you're going to experience all that they have to offer. So in class, I was like, listen, I don't do water parks. I don't swim or anything. Is there any way that I could just like show up and walk around and blah, blah, blah? Because they were going to, they had like a little cafeteria or restaurant open that you could have lunch at. You could go on the rides. And they had this tapu, I think what it was. And it was a big chunky bracelet, and it told you the wait times, and it's like a virtual line thing. So they said, yeah, no problem. Just come dressed casual and walk around and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So we get to the parking garage, and like at the end of the parking garage, this is going to be a long video. At the end of the parking garage, they have these construction hats and vests, because there's like this little like 5 to 7 foot walk that you have to make through just dirt, and they're still like building construction and stuff. So that was so irritating. Every time you wanted to, you know, you had to walk from here to there, you had to throw on this hat, throw on this vest, and you know, when you exited, when you entered, blah, 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 it was very annoying. And I was like, why are they doing this in the midst of construction, you know? And little did I know. So you go up to the entrance of Volcano Bay, and I'll tell you this, it's beautiful. It's Volcano Bay, and there's like this massive, I don't want to say roof, but that's where we would be as the park greeters. So I thought, there's fans here. It seems cool, and there's our podiums. So this is going to be nice. So we walk through, and there's like, you know, dirt. There's no pavement. And then come to find out, like 2 or 3 rides were open, and that's it. And there were supposed to be, you know, a good amount of rides open for the people that wanted to do the water park. And they were having like issues with it, technical issues. And so I was like, I was very unimpressed. I mean, the massive beach that they were supposed to have, no sand whatsoever, no water, like the lazy river, I can't remember what they called it, the winding river or something like that, had no water in it. Like I said, 2 or 3 rides, and there was a massive amount of lines, so you couldn't really do like the tapu. It had a glitch where it would just have like the Krakatoa, which is the massive volcano, the body plunge, and it just had a glitch to it. So I was walking around with Lindsay. I think her name was Lindsay. Sorry, Lindsay, if you're watching this, my apologies. So we were walking around, and of course you guys know I'm a vegan. So I went up to this restaurant, and I was looking at the menu, and I asked this worker, I mean, she's a worker from the theme parks, I said, do you have anything vegan? And she's like, what? I said, do you have anything vegan? Well, we have a limited menu and that's all we have. Okay. So from what I saw online, they did actually have a vegan sort of option, but it was a limited menu, and she was with another girl, and they just looked like they didn't want to be there. So it was hot out. There was hardly any coverage at all in this theme park, which I was highly disappointed in that. So we sat down, and someone comes over to us and says, if you're not eating, you can't sit there. And I'm like, okay. And I looked at them and I said, there's no coverage and we're very hot. Well, I'm sorry. You have to order something and eat something. This is for only people that want to eat here. And I tell you what, guys, you looked around and there was like a massive amount of seats available. So us taking up 2 seats was a hindrance. Really? It was like, so then it was either the following day or a couple days later, we were supposed to go in for training at our podiums as park greeters. And so they gave us like the tapu-tapus and all these fake tickets. And we were supposed to like intermingle with each other and switch and all this kind of stuff. And, the technology was pretty decent. And so I did my own thing. I welcomed people and tapped the tags and did the tapu-tapu. And we did that, guys, we were there for 8 hours. We did that for probably about 6 hours of going in and out, switching back and forth. And I look over at these trainers, and they had no idea what to do with us. Like, they just said, oh, well, just go ahead and keep going and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I was to the point where I was so irritated. Everything was so disorganized. Nobody knew what the heck they were doing. And so this trainer, this guy was such an asshole. I mean, he was an asshole. Pardon my language. He took our group and walked around, and he was like, yeah, over there, that's Krakatoa. Yeah, over there. So somebody, I'm going to call her D. I love her so much. She raised her hand and went to ask a question, and he completely ignored her. Like, it was a very valid question. Like, it was something that should have been told to us. And I can't even remember what the question was. But he, like, completely ignored her. And I was standing beside her. And I said, what an asshole. So we never let that go. Her and I were like, excuse me. And then we turned our backs to each other. And let me just tell you this, guys. The little group that I was in were absolutely hilarious. I am still Facebook friends with everybody. If any of you guys are watching this, we need to get together and have lunch or drinks or whatever, because I love you guys so much. So anyway, Dee was like all on this. And her and I were talking about this constantly. So then other people were asking questions, and he had no idea. Like, somebody was asking, well, where is like a certain ride? And he was like looking around trying to figure it out. So the trainers had no idea what the hell they were doing. Like, they had no idea what to do with us. So they constantly just said, okay, go on the podium and whatever. So the worst training I have ever received, and that is very disappointing, especially when it comes to a theme park. Like, get your shit in one sock. So anyway, so we train, and then I think the following day, we have this massive group, again, going to the theme park. This time we actually got to ride on the buses and go over there to an unfinished park, which was hilarious in the fact that it was like, why don't you wait until the park is done and train everybody? This is a long video. Anyway, so I got my schedule for like the grand opening, and throughout this whole training, it was like very sporadic. So it was like one day a week, and then like 2 days. So it was absolutely horrible training schedule, if you want to call training that. Anyway, so I got my first like schedule, and it said the bus station. Nobody trained me on the bus station. Like, it was like, and so I asked one of the trainers, I said, I'm scheduled for a bus station. What do I do? I mean, I don't have any training. He's like, oh, it's easy. It's okay. You know, you'll get it. And I'm like, so I came home, and at that time, I had just received an email for an interview for Disney. And I came home and I discussed it with my mom, and I was like, just from the fact of the training being absolutely horrendous, and the feel that I got from the other workers, the rudeness of the girls, you know, oh, well, that's the only thing we have. We have a limited menu. Telling us to move if we weren't eating. The lack of, you know, respect from the trainers to the trainees, whatever. It was a nightmare. So I decided no. So I wrote to one of the top people, and I said, I can no longer work for Universal. And I described exactly what the reasons were. And so what's really funny is I still get emails. Hey, we're hiring. I'm like, really? Why don't you work on your training? The trainers. Other than the group that I was with, the ladies that I were with, this was a horrible, horrible job. I mean, they were not prepared at all. They didn't know what to do with the new people. They were rude. It was a nightmare. It was absolutely horrible. This is just my experience. It was a brand new park, but my thing is, you opened 2 other parks. Granted, it wasn't a water park, but you should have had your shit in one sock. That's all I gotta say. I mean, it baffles me that they're doing as well as they are. If they are. I don't know. I don't follow any of that. That is my working for Universal story. When, you know, you look back on it and you gotta laugh, because it's like, really? I mean, how stupid can you be? But that was so funny when Dee was trying to ask a simple question, and this guy completely ignored her, and everybody in the group saw it and knew it, and he was just an asshole. Like, I mean, when I needed help on the podium, I raised my hand, and he came over one time, and I said, never mind, because he was an ass, just a butthole. Anyway, that's it. That's all I gotta say. So that is my experience working for Universal Volcano Bay. I don't know. It's baffling to me. Anyway, this is a long enough video. I hope you enjoyed it, because I did. Dee, if you're watching, Lindsay, Angelica, if you're watching this, I love you girls. Let's get together. Click that subscribe button. Watch a miracle happen. I am Miracle Girl. Click the bell for notifications from me. Hit that like button. I love you guys. Goodbye.